Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be something a bit different. I lied last time because in order to explain the chakras and how to balance the chakras, I'm going to have to explain the tools and techniques used to be able to balance out the chakras. The tools and techniques used to balance out the chakras is known as yoga. Now, most people in the West, when they hear yoga, they just imagine stretching. So if I tell someone that they ask me like, what do I do? Like, what's your religion? And I'll say, well, I practice yoga. And well, that turns into a whole explanation because I have to explain that yoga isn't the stretching. Yoga asanas, known to the West, is a very small part and parcel of yoga as a whole. Saying yoga is and referring just to yoga asanas when you say yoga is like saying the entire country of Asia is Japan, because yoga asanas are so far removed and completely unnecessary that, for instance, if Japan were not to be there, Asia would still be Asia. If yoga asanas were not there, the postures and the stretching that people do so commonly in the West, yoga would still be yoga. It is such a small portion. And so when someone says they're a yoga instructor and they only know the yoga asanas, it's almost like someone is saying that they are an expert or an instructor in, Asian history, and they don't have knowledge of the rest of Asia. They just know Japan, because the idea to get across is that yoga asanas is just one part of Raja Yoga. And so to get into the four types of yoga, as I just mentioned, Raja Yoga is one. That is yoga through actions. There is Karma Yoga, which is yoga through actions in the sense of selfless action. So I guess the difference between Raja and Karma is Raja is more like techniques, like breathing techniques, or the postures, things like that. Well, Karma Yoga is more, your actions, as in, going to do your daily activities, going to work, interacting with other people, doing good deeds, things like that, where Raja Yoga is more practices centered on self more than doing actions for others, which is Karma Yoga. The other two types of yoga, there's Jana Yoga, which is exactly what you're doing right now, listening to information and learning more, or speaking information as well. Teaching is encompassed in that as well. And then there's Bhakti Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga is my absolute favorite yoga, because it's the most fun and it's the most loving, because it's yoga through love or devotion. And this is something where a way to kind of think about Bhakti Yoga is almost, in the sense, the placebo effect. If you're given a sugar pill to treat a condition and you feel so much better afterwards, and you're like, it was the medicine helped me. That alone, the idea of, this is going to help me, even though it has no net effect, can be seen as Bhakti Yoga, just having that devotion and faith. And so this can be towards, an individual, it can be towards your loved ones, it could be towards your family, it could be towards something higher like a deity or a figure like Jesus or Buddha, something like that. Okay, now I'm going to go, I kind of did an overview of the four yogas, and now I'm going to go and break it down a little bit more, starting with the Raja Yoga again. So Raja Yoga, as explained, is encompasses the yoga asanas. So yoga instructors in the West, when they're teaching classes, vinyasa flows and things like that, that is an example of Raja Yoga. And that practice alone can bring, any one of these four pathways can bring enlightenment alone. So even yoga asanas, you can reach enlightenment through that practice, through becoming more in tune with your body. There's also, the traditional yogis, they would only do one yoga asana pose and just stay in that pose. They would learn to master one of the poses, and that was enough for them. The other Raja Yoga forms are things like mantras, and mantras are a form of pranayama or breath control. As you're repeating the word or phrase, all voice is breath. And vibration. And so as you recite a mantra, you'll kind of go to the point where you're just mouthing the mantra. So as you inhale and exhale, you're kind of just inhaling and exhaling the mantra. And then if we can move on to karma yoga, karma is more, like I said, like, fruitive action, like, volunteering your time, being good to others, being nice to others, treating others the way you want to be treated. And the way this kind of works is, if you're consistently good to other people, then you'll expect good things in return. If you're consistently rude to other people, you can expect rudeness in return. If you're very generous with your money, you can expect money back. If you're very, tight-knit about your money, then you can expect, money might continue to be tight. Things like that. But karma yoga that's to do with your job. That has to do with while you're in an action, to be completely selfless in it. A lot of the times, you can a lot of religions today follow karma yoga. It's not instilled in a lot of the teachings and a lot of their texts. Things like the golden rule and all of that kind of goes to the concept of karma yoga. But karma yoga, that is a topic that I'll expand upon again, because karma, there's many different types of karma. This is just a very basic overview of this form of yoga. And if we go on to the next form, which is Jana Yoga, which is awakening through knowledge. This is where, reading different texts and, learning from people who have experienced things like that, asking questions, truth seeking. This is something that isn't actually completely necessary and required for people. You don't have to read and become extremely knowledgeable in order to balance out the chakras, but it is really important to have a baseline and an understanding, so that way you comprehend how these topics. I'm so sorry for the cat. The cat is throwing me off this entire time. He must just really want to be a part of these videos. Anyways, on to the next subject, which will be the last type of yoga, which is Bhakti Yoga, which is my favorite type of yoga, because to me it feels completely effortless, and that is yoga through devotion or faith. So if a lot of modern day religions, they have some sort of figure, whether it's Krishna, Allah, or Buddha, that they pray to, and that idea, that sense of devotion or faith or bhakti, that alone can awaken you and do wonders. So just having something that you look up to, it's good to have a deity or some figure, like some godly type figure, because if you're looking up to that, then you're reaching and you're aiming up to that. If you're looking up to another human, you're only going to reach up to that point of being that human. So for instance, like if a basketball player, if LeBron looked up to Michael Jordan and he only looked up to Michael Jordan, then he would never have room to be himself. He would only just be one leg under Michael Jordan, because he's looking up to him, right? And at some point, you can't be looking up to someone. You're going to have to eventually, be your own leader and have people look up to you. So that's kind of why Bhakti Yoga is powerful when you're attributing it to something that is beyond you, because you're aiming for a goal that's so far out there that, if you're able to even, just get a glimpse of that goal, you've done a good job. Whereas, if you're looking up to a politician or somebody like that, there's kind of a disconnect, because you're not connecting with something that has to do with self. And when I say these things like deities and Buddha and all this, it's recognized that this is something that's an energy that operates within, that's connected to our own source of consciousness, where it's not separate from ourselves. So we're not worshiping something outside of ourselves, we're worshiping something that is within, is a source of creation, a source of life. Okay, that is all for today. I explained the 4 types of yogas. It's a bit of a shorter video today because I do want to get started talking about the root chakra and proceeding with the rest of them, but I realized that in order to explain the chakras, I should also be able to explain how to balance them, and the way to balance them has been laid out in the yogic processes thousands of years ago in India. It's not a religion, it's really just, it's techniques, tools and techniques to raise your consciousness to a higher state, a higher level. You can imagine, when you're a baby and you were seeing the world and, how things didn't really make sense. As you age, your consciousness can rise. It can also kind of decline and flatline. So the idea is you want your consciousness to raise up so you feel more alive, you're growing, your mind is continuously to grow. Your body is growing as well. So that way, as we age, which we all ultimately will, we won't suffer with conditions, spinal issues or different pains or illnesses or cognitive decline, because ultimately balancing out this system and balancing out the mind, the third eye, and the crown will provide you with a healthy mind for the rest of your life. And that's really like the best takeaway from all of this. If you don't know anything about yoga and you're interested in just trying to find small ways to improve your life, this channel is definitely recommended for you. I'm definitely going to be covering things very basically and trying to show people how they can easily implement these practices in their life. Really doesn't take much time. It can take you maybe an hour out of your morning, less than that. That's really overestimation. It can take even 15 minutes out of your day just to set aside to one of these practices, and give it some time, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then there's no harm in trying them. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow or potentially Friday on a video with the root chakra, and until next time, Jai Mahakal.